You are listening to the John H. Project.
Trust no one. Trust no one. Trust no one.
You found it. You're here. You're headlong down the runaway train that is the Anomic Age, and I am your host, John H. Happy to be back with you once again in the dark side of the AM. It's Friday the 13th, folks. Happy Friday the 13th. One of my favorite days every time it comes up on the calendar, which is kind of rare. I mean, not rare like a four-leaf clover, but rare in the grand scheme of calendarios. So happy Friday the 13th, folks. Hailing proudly from the coastal plains of the Old North State, I'll be your tour guide this evening as we take a somewhat satirical journey down the path of murder, destruction, mayhem, and the extermination of human life on this planet, a forced march into obsolescence thrust upon us by a global, satanic death cult of pedophiles. Check out anomicage.com, if you will, if you can, if you shall. Please like all the likes. Subscribe to all the subscriptions. PayPal.me/anomicage. Patreon.com/anomicage as well. That's definitely the best way that you can support me, support the show. Do everything you can to and fro. If you can, please do that. Man, global satanic death cult of pedophiles. That's been not really tongue-in-cheek, but I think many people thought of this as tongue-in-cheek for quite a while. Man, oh man. If you're looking at any of those Epstein file releases, you can understand, appreciate, and now fully embrace that it is indeed a global satanic death cult of pedophiles. It ain't the right, it ain't the left, it's all of them and everyone in between. Man, it's nasty out there. It's just nasty. As you know, it's been a while since I've done one of these information breakdown segments. Been having more guests on, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So I've kind of taken a break from the information breakdown segments, but fear not, here I am. Rumors of my death greatly exaggerated. So here I am, and there you are. So let's delve into the deep end of the pool a little bit, shall we, this evening? To be honest with you, to be truthful with you, to be frank. No, sorry, I'm just John. I'm just going to get into some not so traditional topics or topic this evening. So we're going to get into the death of James Van Der Beek. I know your social media, if it's like mine, if you're on that same algorithm, you've probably been abuzz with all things Van Der Beek for at least 24 hours now. We're rolling into 48 hours and darn near 72 probably at this juncture of the game. But we're going to talk about that this evening. And I'm going to be a little bit different than I usually am. I know people probably are more apt for my my black-pilled cynicism, angst, and just downright as it pertains to most things in the Matrix. And I'm going to take a little bit of a break in that regard and kind of go a little bit more soft on you. But I'm a little bit more emo about this one. Don't tell anybody. Just kidding. A little bit more emo on this one and get into the feelings. Maybe those feelings just a little bit tonight. And maybe I'll close it out with a little dark side of the force because I can't help it. But just cover the facts the way that they are. So we'll cover a little dark side of the force, I do believe. I could have sworn there was an ant on the camera. I hope not. I swear, I thought it was an ant on camera. If it is, we'll delve into the wide world of sci-fi, I guess. You'll see a giant ant go across the winds in a minute. I hope not. I think my eyes, or maybe my mind's playing tricks on me, like the Ghetto Boys. Anyway, so we'll go into the death of James Van Der Beek, and I'll discuss it kind of from my, I would say, somewhat unique lens, and we'll kind of get into the larger implications of this whole thing, by the end of it. So fear not, we'll cover all bases and color outside the lines. But man, it was kind of a weird death for me. It kind of struck me in a little bit of an odd sense. Moving some monitors. Struck me a little bit odd. This death of James Van Der Beek. And here's why, folks. I shy away from talking about myself too much on the show, but I'll give you a little bitty bit. I hail from a place close to, as you know, the coastal plains of the old North State, close to Wilmington, North Carolina, which, as you probably know if you're even following this Dawson's Creek thing vaguely, that's where Dawson's Creek was filmed. That's where James Van Der Beek got his big break, his big start, if you will. Yeah, he was in things before that and a lot of things after that. But I think most people will know James Van Der Beek for the character Dawson Leary from Dawson's Creek. And as you know, I mean, Katie Holmes, another obvious star. Michelle Williams, another obvious star on that one. Goodness gracious. Joshua Jackson, that's another obvious star on that one. I'm sorry, I'm escaping. His name's escaping me. The guy that was in the first Final Destination film. Love that movie. Anyway, all those characters basically from that show went on to bigger and better things after Dawson's Creek. I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but I think the populace at large would say that. So anyway, I spent quite a bit of my misfit, wasted youth on the streets of Wilmington, NC, way back in the day. And, you know, I had a very different take on that show at the time than I do now. I mean, at the time, it was like the height of my punk rock, hardcore life and into shows and looking like an idiot and skateboarding and girls and all that stupid mess. So at the time, I just saw the Dawson's Creek show as very lame, and the blipping production of that was all over downtown all the time. I mean, so many weird little connections for me in that show, but, you know, all over all the time. They're just kind of in the way. The place, the homestead of the Leary clan, or at least the actual homestead. I don't know how much of it. I think a lot of it was filmed at that location. I know it was because I used to date a girl that lived right down the street. But anyway, dated a girl lived right down the street from the main location of that television show. A girl I went to high school with actually lived in that house and on that road. I'm no longer there, I'm sure. I actually saw that it was sold. The family sold it, I think, about like a year ago. Anyway, so that's all holds true. Even shared a flight with James Van Der Beek at one time. I didn't talk to him. He didn't talk to me, but, you know, looked over and I was like, holy shnikes, look at that. It's that Dawson's Creek guy, you know. That's what I was thinking at the time. So I was a little bit too old to really be in that, I don't know, it was like millennial malaise of ooh, stars and Dawson's Creek and all this stuff. You know, I saw a lot of quote unquote celebrities and stars on the street in Wilmington at that time when I used to live there. And well, I didn't live there actually then at all. I lived far away to a degree, but anyway, doesn't matter. Saw a lot of celebrities, quote unquote, and stars at the time, and all those Dawson's Creek kids were just more of the same to me. I've never been impressed by the cult of celebrity and all that mess. I say all that to say this. This one struck me a little bit differently, and I'm trying to unpackage why. If you know me at all, I'm sure you do from this show. I think and talk about death frequently, often. I mean, that's one of the main things in my brain. If you ever want to strike up a conversation with me, mention death, and I'll just, oh, really? Let's talk about death, you know. Gone through a lot of death in my life, especially the last few years. And this one definitely just struck a little bit differently for me. I mean, we've seen a lot of celebrities already die. I mean, the mom from Home Alone, Sonny Jorgensen from Wilmington, also famous football personality, I guess, star. Lamont, the character that played Lamont Sanford, the actor. I loved that actor. I had a lot more admiration and respect for him when I was really looking at what he did beyond the show. as a Christian. He knew what was up with the Hollywood machine. If you get a chance, look at the work of his. Let me pull his name up because his name's escaping me, and I apologize for not knowing this gentleman's name. Demond Wilson. I should have known that, man. I watched that show so much growing up. Good grief. Demond Wilson. If you get a chance, look up his real world stuff. He's talking about the machine. He's talking about the Hollywood. He's talking about all that satanic pedophile mess that we already know about. Now it's just commonplace. At least it should be. But anyway, all that to say this, man, the thing struck a chord with me, struck and resonated quite differently than all the other deaths lately. And probably because Van Der Beek was the same age as me, which I didn't even know. I was like, holy sheesh. He wasn't from Wilmington. I'm sure he didn't spend a heck of a lot of time here after the show. But it was something about that. It was something about that time. All those people, all those youngsters downtown about exactly the same age as me in the case of Van Der Beek, I think it was just something of like, man, and nobody will understand this unless they lived through that time and that era back then. But everybody was just kind of down. It was not this politically charged hell that we're in now. There was so many friends that I had then that I'm not friends with anymore. They would probably never want to talk to me based on stuff I've covered on the show. But it was such a different time because it wasn't as divisive. There was actually this unity, ironically enough, that was going on back then. It was punks, it was skins, it was kids into ska, it was skateboarders and surfers and hippies and preppies and everybody just hanging out. Hip-hop kids, I mean, it was so different back then. At least it was in the little slice of world that I was in. So, just as over the years, the countless people that have died just from that era that I was in. And I look and I reflect at, the Dawson's Creek Castle down there. I didn't talk to him. He didn't talk to me, like I said. But it was something about that. Even though not from Wilmington, for some reason, you kind of look, or at least I do, through that lens. And like, man, it was, this cat was kind of down from it. Not in the sense that you're thinking, not in that weird parasocial relationship, like, oh, we had some bond, we had some connection. I think for me, it's just like, man, he was a little piece of Wilmington for a second during sort of the golden era of what I perceive adolescence to be, in my humble opinion. So I guess kind of like all the other people that I've lost over the years that were from that time, I kind of like, man, that kind of stinks, That stinks. That James Van Der Beek has taken out also. And you got to look through it, through the various lenses of this too. I want to get into the dark side of the force. So somebody's going, I don't want to care about this mess, John. I want to hear about the realness, the dark stuff. Come on. All right, the dark stuff, if you will. The dark stuff, he was definitely pushing the flu vaccine in like 2019, a little bit before that, I believe. But after that, he seemed to have some sort of break or an epiphany. And I don't know if this man took the COVID jab or not, but he seemed to be against it. Okay? He seemed to be coming out against the COVID jab. The man had 6 kids with one woman. Okay? I'm not saying he's the second coming. I'm not saying he's a great Christian. I'm just saying, okay, in today's era, 6 kids, one woman, one baby daddy, the whole 9 yards, that's kind of cool. So he was doing that be fruitful and multiply thing. He was also a professed Christian. In today's world, that don't mean much. I understand. That could mean anything from the mega church to a tiny church to not even going to church and just believing in Christ and reading your Bible and all that stuff. It means a lot of things right about now. It could be them freaky tranny churches, could be, Farwell and whatever, Jim Baker. I mean, it's a lot of things to a lot of people. So those sort of monikers don't mean a lot to me, but at least in perception, perceived to have the right value system. He was questioning the answers. He was questioning authority, came out against Biden, against sort of this one world government of the commie-crats that they're trying to push up your news. So he seemed to be on the right path on a lot of things. Again, I'm not saying he and I would hang out and be pals. I'm just saying, okay, from the 5,000 feet up view, perceived to be pretty on point with a lot of stuff. And I look at a lot of that stuff kind of through my own lens, you know? I think everybody does this. If you're reading a book, if you watch a television show or a movie, a lot of times you'll put yourself in those scenarios. You'll put, oh my, what would I do? So-and-so's kidnapped. What would I do? Somebody's trying to get me. What would I do? You know, put whatever that situation is. So I used to be very critical of those cats back in the day. You know, drug-free forever on my end. Just look at all these drug trash out here. Look at all these druggy pieces of garbage. You know, that was definitely my mindset. I ain't saying it's changed. I'm not saying it's changed at all. But I'm saying that was my lens. What was it, like 1998, I think is when this thing started, to 2004. Anyway, that was definitely my lens then. I was, some people would say I was way more hardline then. I'd say I'm way more hardline now. I just don't talk about it, you know. But that being said, I remember we would always hang out at the record store right next to this little kind of upscale restaurant bar kind of place. And they'd always, you know, be leaving and I'm, look at all these kids, drunk trash, Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, that's me being kind of a judgmental prick. I feel that. I know. So that being said, it looked like Dawson had, I ain't saying he changed for the better or the worse. I'm saying he grew up a lot, as we all should. Should being the operative word. You know, I look at myself and look back even 5 years ago, a year ago, and say, whew, man, I've grown a lot. I've developed a better sense of self, developed closer relationship with Christ, all that kind of stuff, man. So I'm not holding anybody accountable to what used to be. A lot of people used to be a lot of stuff, and hopefully as we get older, we do get wiser. There's no guarantee, but hopefully we get older and wiser, and we can kind of shed the old skin and be reborn into a new and much better one. So hopefully that's the case with James Van Der Beek. By all accounts, it looked that way from the outside looking in. Hope that's legit. So we talked about all that Posicore stuff, right? We also got to mention, yeah, he was critical of the left and probably the right. Professed his faith in Christ. Awesome. Had 6 kids, 1 woman. Was he divorced? Yes, he was divorced. Current wife was Kimberly Brooke. Got it. Excuse me. And I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. I'm sure everybody's already producing the video hit pieces that are going to come out and say, oh, Van Der Beek was really a woman, and he was really married to a tranny, and he was really a Satanist, and he's on the list, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. By the way, hadn't heard this man's name whispered, uttered, or even intimated on the proverbial list, so that's probably not to be. Let's take a look at some of this other stuff. I gotta bring up the obvious here. And this is from Kveller.com. And this is a definite Jewish publication, just so you know. I'm just putting this up there so you know. Holy she-shed. Let's see if we can pull this over. This is going to drive me crazy. This is making me mad already. There we go. That's better. That's much better. Okay, good. Anyway, so Kveller is talking about Dawson from back in the day. Not as far as I was going back in the day, but we got to get a little bit back in the day. So what this really says, I'm trying to find the centre part. In 2010, while visiting the Kabbalah Centre as a personal guest of its leader, Rabbi Yehuda Berg. Yeah, so 2010, old Dawson, Van Der Beek. I'm conflating the man with the character. I apologize. So 2010, he was definitely visiting the Kabbalah Centre. He met old Rabbi Berg, personal guest. He was apparently very interested in the Kabbalah. He says he was studying into that for like 7 years. Recently divorced in 2010. He took a trip to Israel with a small group of family of friends. He eventually wed Kimberly Brooke. He met Kimberly there, I guess, in looks like 2010. It's like he met Kimberly there in 2010, and then was married a little bit later. Had their first child, and then he got married. Said he named one of his children, I can't remember the name of it, some word for a Jewish tree. So I can't remember the name. I'm not really going to get into his children. That's not important to me. But anyway, so I say all that to say this. The man was definitely interested in Kabbalah at one point in the game, interested in Israel. He went there, looked highly at Israel because that's where he met his wife. They got married there in Kabbalah, Israel. Ironically. What else we got here? There's an olive tree in Israel, blah, 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 blah. Name his firstborn daughter after an Israeli tree. Yeah, covered that. Anyway, I'm just covering the obvious because I know people are going to be out there making these ridiculous claims that he was really a woman and it's all a tranny thing and, list and kids were really someone else's and they were adopted. I don't know, man. I don't give a rat's about any of that. That's not here nor there, but I'm going to cover it right here, right now. Because I just want to go ahead and put it out there, putting it out there, putting all the truth out there that I possibly can. So, what's that got to do with the price of eggs, Johnny? Nothing, I don't think, anyway. So it might mean that he's in the club. It might mean whatever. I'm just covering what I know at this juncture, okay? So what I know is the man died of rectal cancer. Colonal rectal cancer. There we go. I think he was diagnosed with this a couple years ago and seemed to really precipitate down a downward spiral kind of quickly. I don't know anything about like the prognosis of something like that. Came out, I believe yesterday, his wife said that they were bankrupt following his death. The man, I know at one point got $1 million on a GoFundMe. I believe 25G of that was from Steven Spielberg, allegedly. But nevertheless, I believe it's jumped up to $2 million right about now. And I looked through this through many different lenses. I looked through this this emo, looking back, rose-colored glasses, old school Wilmington Times from back in the day. I look at it through, man, this is somebody my age that is gone. And I can't help but look through this through the monetary lens as well, because I look through this whole thing and think, man, sometimes I'm a little bit wrong. Sometimes I do say it's all about the money, and it is. And I do say money can buy happiness, and it can. But at this point, you got to look at this guy's death and go, what the bleep, man? This is a guy, I'm assuming, billionaire. I'm assuming probably multimillionaire. Just predicated on the shows he's done, predicated on the films he's done, and Dancing with the Stars, everything else. I'm assuming multimillionaire, okay? 6 kids, wife, living happily. Looks like in a rural area, had fruit trees, had a little farm, some animals and stuff. I mean, everything to be saying, man, he looked like he had it all. I'm assuming also had a heck of an insurance plan, you would think. Again, you would think, right? But when it all comes down to it, where the rubber meets the road, if you will, something just ain't right here, man. What the hell is going on? Got a Hollywood star, multi-millionaire, and the man is darn bankrupt now. Or his family is. I mean, the estate of Van Der Beek, I suppose, is basically bankrupt. I believe that's what the wife's saying. I don't know. I'm not looking through their files. Maybe it's all bull jive. I don't know. But that's just downright sad, isn't it? This man was going through treatment for a couple years here. And what really kicked me in nads a couple weeks back, I think a couple months back probably, is I saw that he was selling his Dawson's Creek memorabilia to try to pay his medical bills. And I just kind of shook my head in disbelief and went, what the bleep is going on here, folks? Nothing makes me kind of more just shake your head in sadness and disgust when you see people that should have all the monetary whatever that they need, You see this often with sports stars selling their rings and selling jerseys and selling shoes and this, that, and the other and the third. And it's just like, what in the world? I saw this a couple years back. I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was selling a bunch of rings and stuff. And, You often see this with other celebrities, but primarily the sports people selling their championship ring, selling their all-star trophy, all this weird stuff. And I'm like, what the flip for? Like, how did you mismanage so badly? I mean, I'm not talking about people with diseases. I'm just talking about people just making bad business moves, I guess. But with Van Der Beek, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this is a really pathetic mess, isn't it? Got a alleged multimillionaire at one time reduced to selling his stuff to pay for his dang medical bills while he's dying of cancer. That was a head shaker for me. I was like, what in the flip is going on here? And it kind of made me think of the old Spartacus movie, I am Spartacus, I am Spartacus. That old scene. And, based on real events. I'm not saying it wasn't a real thing. I'm just going back to the movie, because it rings the most true. And I was kind of thinking about that with the death of James Van Der Beek, man. We are all Van Der Beek, folks. Check this out. If a multimillionaire can end up selling his mess, selling his memorabilia, selling all the things that were near and dear to him just to pay for some blipping medical bills, then the average person, you and I, don't stand a blipping chance, okay? Because I'm here to tell you, I'm not Van Der Beek wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. I don't have anything near the catalog of memorabilia anybody would even want to give a dime to. It's sad, folks. And I think this is emblematic of our really fouled up and failed system. Something's fouled up for real. If you got a multimillionaire selling their stuff just to try to pay for cancer treatment, that's fouled up, folks. I don't know what the answer is, but I know it is not what we're in right now. It is not the military-industrial complex. It is not the medical mafia. I mean, good night, nurse. You should. I'm hopeful that you already saw the show with Dr. Heidi Klessig from last week. It just posted today or yesterday, I guess. But just when I was talking to her, I didn't bring this up to get us off topic, but I was just thinking, like, what in the bleep? How did we get here, folks? Got a multi-millionaire celebrities selling their stuff to pay for cancer treatments. That is sad, 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 folks. And we already know the system is fouled up. We know the medical mafia is just replete with scandal, replete with lies, just nothing more than cui bono. Who benefits? Who profits? Selling you poison under the guise of care. I could just continue on down the road talking about the nightmarish bleepscape that is the healthcare system aquí en los Estados Unidos. And somebody's going to argue, oh, it's the best in the world. And okay, I guess. I don't know. I haven't been anywhere else and done the healthcare there, so I couldn't tell you. I'm here to tell you that's really bleeped up. Because if I got something along the lines of Van Der Beek, I guess my butt's going to be in a cardboard box pretty blame quick. Because I don't have the funds to cover any of those tabs, folks. And I don't have the rich Hollywood friends, celebrities, and directors that are going to give me any kind of quan to pay for it either. So it makes me sad and makes me wonder what kind of bleeping mess are we all going to be in pretty soon here, folks. Because everybody wants to put the onus on the boomers. Well, the boomers are going to be dead soon. And then I guess the onus is going to fall on the Gen Xers, and I'm going to look around and throw everybody a... I'm not going to say it. But you know what I mean. It's a mess, folks. So you have to wonder what in the world's going on that you got a 48-year-old man biting dust from cancer, selling all the stuff. And you look back at some of these other folks, everybody's got pictures of Shannon Doherty and some of these other kind of people in my same demographic that are way deceased early. And she had cancer as well. Of course, we all know, thanks to the COVID hoax and the vaccines and stuff, we're going to see all kinds of people dying of cancer pretty darn soon. Having a stroke and blood clots and all kinds of fast-acting cancer. That's all going to be the norm pretty soon. I mean, it's already been rolled out, normalized, standardized, and subsidized all across the nation. You got commercials. You got bus stop ads and all this mess talking about, oh, it's normal to have a stroke when you're 15. Oh, it's totally all right. Have a heart attack when you're 18. That's just the new normal, isn't it? The new normal, just like the astronomical jump in autism over the last 30 years. It's all just normal. Don't you question the normality from the medical mafia. Nay, nay, nay. They'll shake your finger. They'll shake that finger at you, baby. But you got to look at the sadness, the bleakness, and the unfathomable darkness of it all. But you also got to look at the cause. What's the causality of it all? I mean, I see these posts sometimes. It'll show these different people, like, look at how they used to look. Look at them now. And they look blown up like a blipping blowfish. Shout out to Hootie. They do, folks. And I always comment, it's the seed oils. It's the seed oils, folks. That's just one variable that's into this big modality and causality that just brings us to death's door. And we're going to see that more and more. So here's a rundown of the obvious in case you missed it. Air, food, and water are all meant to kill you. I don't know about you, but I can look up in the day sky, the night sky, the mid-afternoon, or the morn sky 8 days a week and twice on Sunday, and I see lines all over the sky. Yeah, líneas en el cielo, líneas en el cielo. Líneas, líneas, líneas. Lines, lines, everywhere lines. Like a cocaine party in the sky, folks. It's crazy up there. And that's just normal now, too. Finally, it's being admitted. Oh, my gracious goodness sakes life. Geoengineering's a thing. What? I thought it was a big fat conspiracy theory, a hoax, and a scam for all these years. It was just a big old lie. Not so much. Now they're admitting about the lines in the sky. So the air, check. That's a big thing in my neck of the woods, too. The Gen X in the water. And you definitely need to know about the Camp Lejeune water, too, right? I'm sure you've seen those emails, right? So the water's killing you. I mean, if the hog waste going downstream wasn't enough, now there's Gen X, and now there's all kinds of forever chemicals for your consumption. And that's along what we already know, right? The fluoride, the chlorine, the leftover goodies from the glyphosate, the runoff into the water. And in case that wasn't enough for you, you've got the birth control pills, all those lovely goodies. Yeah, they're all in the water too. So when you see this huge uptick in the feminization of men, the transformers, the gay, the bi, the whatever 72 flavors of crazy there are, you gotta look and say, well, what the bleep is the cause? Of course, you look at the media and the proliferation and normalization and standardization of all these sort of actions and actors, but you've also got to look at the chemical cause. That's kind of obvious, isn't it? What else we got? The food. In case you missed it, the food is downright deadly. It's just deadly, folks. I mean, heavens to Betsy, you've seen the same mess as me. You've seen the Big Mac and fries from like 1989. Looks showroom fresh, basically. Just looks about as good as it did in 1989, you know. And you think eating that's good? All these big box restaurants that have really proliferated in the last 30 to 40 years. You think they're selling you stuff that's actually healthy? Of course they're not. It's deadly, folks. It's deadly. Everybody's fallen all over themselves in the last 20 years to flipping coat themselves down with sunscreen. Guess what? It's flipping deadly. They sold you a poison that's allegedly going to protect you from the alleged carcinogenic solar rays. I mean, what the flip is up with that? It's like my house is on fire. Here I've got a hose attached to this gas truck. It's bound to help you. It'll put out the house fire. Sure, the whole neighborhood might burn down, but maybe your house will be all right. Air, food, and water. It's all toxic, folks. And if that's not enough, for heaven's sakes, now you've also got to worry about the 5G. You got the 5G towers all around your neighborhood, in your neighborhood. Yeah. 5G towers, baby. And they've convinced the American moron to also put these lovely wireless devices in their homes. It's awesome. You know what else they've done? They've convinced the American morons. I went to a store today. I went to a dollar store to get a card. It was dreadful. There was some lady yelling into her cell phone on speaker on one aisle. I was like, oh, let's get away from this crap. I went down another aisle. There's a lady taking a call on her Knight Rider watch. You know, hey, what'd you say? What? Yeah, this was what was going on another aisle. I got my mess and got the blip out of there. I'm just, please get me away from this. They've convinced people to 5G themselves with their cell phone. And then they've put it on their wrist because, you know, there's nothing in the La Biblia for mark of the beast on your wrist. Oh, it's not in my wrist in a chip. It's on my wrist in a watch. It's totally different. It's totally different. Yeah, you're going to see a rash of wrist cancer pretty soon. Just like you've seen an uptick in breast cancer from idiots sticking the phone in their flipping bra and going around with it. You've seen this nonsense, right? Lord help us. Air, food, water, and waves too. All the waves that you are just inundated with 8 days a week and twice on Sunday. What about those bulbs, huh? We went from the non-toxic LEDs to these will last for years. Lies of the normal incandescents. Then we went to the mercury-filled little circular curly Q tubes, and now we're on to the LEDs. Yeah, they just pulse. You just can't see them pulsing all the time. But it's okay, right? It's totally all right. It's not going to kill you or anything. Holy shnikes, folks. I say all that to say this in closing. It's just really sad. It sure as bleep is, man. It's sad because, yeah, he's the same age as me. Yeah, spent some time in one of the same places I grew up in. By all accounts, successful guy, ends up selling his stuff to try to survive. Just sad. Pathetic and sad. That's the healthcare system that we have in this country. Where a multimillionaire can't even make it. That's where we're at. Nobody wants to talk about why we're seeing this uptick in cancer. Just like nobody wants to talk why we're seeing this uptick in homosexuality and transgenderism and everything else. No one wants to talk about it. We're supposed to accept it, right? Just like you're supposed to accept the gay and the trans, you're also supposed to accept death. You're supposed to accept death at the jump, you know, like 30, 40s. That's just going to be the new norm. And I suppose if you come out and ask questions or if you come out and question anything, then you're the bad guy, you know. Just like they tried to paint Van Der Beek as the bad guy about 5 years ago when he was going, what the bleep's going on with these vaccines? What's going on with Biden? And what's going, you know, like all that. You question the bad stuff and, you know, I can't believe I've seen online, you know, a few of these celebrity boobs saying good stuff about him. I'm kind of shocked that he had that many that would even come out and say something good about him because he dared to question the narrative. That's kind of shocking, I got to say. Maybe things are turning for the better. I hope so. Oh, man. Just a sad, sad deal, man. And I'm sure by the time I put this video out, it'll be like, you know, he was really dating a man and he was a transformer himself and all the nonsense. That's why I haven't done many of these information breakdown segments lately. I just so tapped out of the nonsense. I just don't care. I just sick of it. All right, everybody that's a woman is really a dude. Everybody that's a dude's really a woman. You know, like whatever. That's the case. Fine, I guess. You know. Oh boy, it's downright exhausting. Anyway, I'm going to check out here a little bit early tonight. You can't do everything, but you can do something. Be safe out there. Do what you can for as long as you can. I was going to give you a biblical quote, but I'll just shut my mouth. I'm jabbering too much. Can't do everything, but you can do something. Get out there, do your part, make a difference. I'll be seeing you sooner or later in the anomic age. Here's to you, James Van Der Beek. Prayers for your children and for your wife. Sad day in Dawson Leary land. James Van Der Beek, here's to you, sir. I'll be seeing you sooner or later in the anomic age.
Thank you for listening to The Anomic Age, a John Age project. For past shows, further info, and to comment, go to anomicage.com. That's ANOMICAGE.com. Till next time, thank you for listening to The Anomic Age.
Thank you.